Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to the Explainer. So, have you noticed how every single piece of enterprise software you use is suddenly getting way more expensive, but somehow doing less of what you actually need? Today, we are unpacking the absolutely profound structural realignment happening right now in the software ecosystem. We're officially entering what's being called the 2026 SaaS reset. It's a crucial period. I mean, everything from how software is fundamentally built, to how it's priced, to who is actually logging in and using it is completely changing. If you're building, buying, or investing in software today, the ground is literally shifting beneath your feet as we speak. So you might be wondering, is the traditional SaaS model dead? Well, yeah, it kind of is. The whole legacy era of growth at all costs and those rigid seat-based subscriptions, that has officially collapsed. For the last 10 years, the historically dominant playbook was all about horizontal market expansion. Build a generic tool, sell it to literally everyone, and force them to buy a license for every single employee in the building. Well, that era is over. If you're building or buying software right now, that old playbook is entirely obsolete, and we're stepping into a rigorous new paradigm that demands you adapt immediately. And here's the exact data point that triggered the collapse. In late 2025, average software subscription costs didn't just creep up, they inflated by a massive 11.4 to 13.5%. Now, compare that to corporate IT budget growth projections. Those barely moved, sitting at a mere 2.8%. Just imagine being a CFO staring at that math. It's completely unsustainable, right? That massive gap forced the C-suite into a corner. They really had no choice but to aggressively audit seat utilization across their entire organization, and they simply couldn't justify paying for thousands of unused, incredibly expensive human licenses anymore. Which brings us to Section 1, the 2026 SaaS Reset. When we look at the cyclical risks facing the market today, specifically Horizon 1, there's a massive immediate threat to the software industry, and it's called seat compression. As AI-enhanced workers become drastically more efficient, enterprise buyers are quite literally doing the math. If one person can now do the work of five, why on earth would a company keep paying for five human software seats? It makes zero sense. This efficiency gain is incredible for businesses, obviously, but it's an absolute nightmare for software companies that rely entirely on recurring revenue from individual user licenses. So, how do software companies actually survive this transition? Because when generative AI can replicate generic features in a matter of seconds, feature parity is completely dead. Being just as good as your competitor, that means absolutely nothing now. The real moat in 2026 is hyper niche. It's a domain-specific product combined with domain-fluent support. Think about it like this. An AI model might easily guess how general accounting or basic marketing works, but it absolutely cannot guess the proprietary complex workflow of a highly specialized dental practice, or say a niche maritime logistics firm. The true competitive advantage now lies in deep industry integration, unbreakable workflow lock-in, and highly proprietary data sets. Let's move on to Section 2, AI native architecture evolution. We are seeing a massive divide this year in how products are actually built. On one side, you have what we call AI-enabled. These are companies just slapping a flashy chat interface onto a legacy system. It's bolted on. But on the other side, you have AI native, where the entire core architecture is built around autonomous, AI-driven workflows right from day one. Especially when we talk about multi-tenant architecture for scaling SaaS, that legacy bolted-on AI completely fails because it's severely limited by outdated foundations. The winners in 2026 must be natively built for prescriptive, agent-led workflows, rather than just treating AI like a cute parlor trick. To achieve that AI native state, engineering teams are essentially ripping out the floorboards and rebuilding their foundations. This involves breaking down massive, clunky code bases, what we call a monolith, into modular, flexible pieces. Think of it like swapping out a giant, heavy block of solid concrete for a bunch of nimble Lego bricks. It also requires moving to event-driven architectures. Basically, these are systems that react instantly to triggers rather than just waiting around for scheduled tasks. Add in API normalization, which simply means ensuring all these different tools speak the exact same language. Now, why do all this? Because complex AI workloads will stress test your system like never before. The goal here is to orchestrate AI quietly in the background and ensure your whole system doesn't buckle under the weight. I really want to emphasize a quote directly from our sources that perfectly anchors this entire shift. Infrastructure is no longer invisible work. It is a competitive advantage and a long-term survival requirement. Just think about that for a second. For years, the tech industry celebrated the speed of shipping new, flashy front-end features, but not anymore. Today, system durability and composable infrastructure easily beat a rushed feature release. If you're a developer or a technical founder, your primary advantage isn't what the user sees on the screen, it's the unbreakable plumbing you've built underneath the whole shebang. All right, Section 3, the new pricing playbook. The market is shifting at breakneck speed. Traditional seat-based pricing has rapidly dropped from 21% to 15% market share. Meanwhile, hybrid pricing has absolutely surged, jumping from 27% up to 41%. The new winning formula in 2026 is actually pretty simple. You have to separate access from consumption. A fixed subscription fee gives you that baseline, predictable revenue that investors absolutely love. But adding usage-based overages allows you to capture the massive upside of AI consumption. Because when an AI agent runs 1,000 tasks overnight, you aren't charging for a seat. You're charging for the massive amount of actual work being done. But honestly, executing these complex hybrid pricing models is an absolute infrastructure nightmare for legacy systems. A traditional subscription setup is structurally incapable of handling metered, unpredictable overages. To actually pull off hybrid pricing, you need powerful new rating engines. We're talking about systems that can handle real-time event ingestion and multidimensional rating. Multidimensional rating simply means the system doesn't just, count the number of API calls made. It actually measures the complexity, the compute power, and the specific value of the task happening. Traditional billing ledgers literally burst into flames trying to do this, so upgrading your monetization infrastructure is now totally mission critical. Moving into Section 4, the rise of vibe coding. Just look at the sheer scale of this shift, 25 to 30 million. That is the projected number of American solopreneurs by 2026. And to be perfectly clear here, we aren't talking about gig workers, part-time drivers, or traditional freelancers. No, we're talking about primary, solo business owners, building scalable enterprise empires, many hitting six-figure or even seven-figure revenues, all without hiring a single human employee. It's an unprecedented economic shift, but how is that even possible? Well, they're pulling it off through something called vibe coding. Coined by AI pioneer Andrej Karpathy, this is a revolutionary approach where you build complex apps, websites, and deep backend automations entirely by describing what you want in natural language. For a solo founder, this acts as an unbelievable force multiplier. Your voice is now your entire engineering department, completely cutting out the need for slow, incredibly expensive human development teams. So here is how that actually works in practice for a modern solopreneur. They start at step 1 with a simple natural language prompt. Maybe they're even just speaking an idea into their phone while walking down the street. That immediately moves to step 2, AI augmented rapid prototyping, which entirely eliminates the blank page problem and turns rough ideas into tangible software up to 5 times faster. Finally, it scales through step 3, multi-agent orchestration. This is where specialized AI agents actually collaborate with one another to deploy and manage complex business logic. You aren't just writing code anymore, you're essentially managing a highly skilled digital workforce. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, winning the next era. Now, scaling these AI capabilities comes with some very serious gatekeepers. If you want to sell your software to larger companies today, security frameworks like SOC 2 and ISO 27001 are no longer optional nice-to-haves. They're the absolute baseline before an enterprise will even take a meeting with you. Then, add in the EU AI Act rolling out in August 2026. This legally requires documented bias testing, clear audit trails, and strict human oversight mechanisms. Strict compliance is no longer just a legal issue. It is your very real, fundamental barrier to entry for B2B sales. And this brings us to the ultimate long-term endgame. If we look out beyond 5 years at these super secular risks shaping the horizon, we're facing a radical new reality. We are moving toward a future where AI agents, not humans, are the primary users of enterprise software. This threatens to compress the entire SaaS industry into a commodity data repository. If software is really just agents talking to other agents via APIs, the beautiful traditional human software interface effectively dies. Which leaves us with one critical question to consider. Is your current software stock built for the past, or is it architected for 2026? The companies that win this era won't be the ones with the flashiest, most superficial AI demos. They'll be the ones actively killing their technical debt, matching their pricing perfectly to actual consumption, and building incredibly durable AI-native infrastructure from the ground up. It's time to adapt or get left behind.
Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.